If a woman starts pulling away, most men immediately assume the worst. They think she's lost interest, that they said something wrong, or that they're being slowly replaced by someone else. Distance gets translated into rejection, and silence feels like a final answer. That reaction is understandable, but it's often wrong. What if her distance isn't a lack of interest, but a response to it? What if the reason she's creating space isn't because she feels nothing, but because she feels too much and doesn't know how to handle it? This idea contradicts everything most men have been taught about attraction. We're told that women lean in when they like you and disappear when they don't. But real emotional dynamics aren't that simple. In fact, strong feelings don't always produce closeness. Sometimes they produce fear. For some women, emotional connection triggers anxiety instead of comfort. The moment things start to feel real, the instinct to protect themselves takes over. That protection can look like distance, coldness, or sudden changes in behavior, signals that are almost always misread. And there's one specific behavior, near the end of this video, that nearly every man gets wrong. When you understand it, you'll stop panicking, stop chasing, and start seeing what's actually happening beneath the surface. Because the truth is, the woman pulling away from you today may already be fighting feelings she never expected to have. Let's address the question most men are afraid to ask but desperately need answered. Why would a woman pull away from someone she genuinely likes? Think about how it started. She was engaged, curious, emotionally present. Conversations flowed effortlessly. There was laughter, tension, and a sense of connection that didn't feel forced. Everything pointed toward progress. Then, without warning, the energy shifted. Her replies became shorter. She suddenly seemed busy. The warmth faded. Your mind jumps to one conclusion: she lost interest. But here's what that explanation fails to account for. Interest doesn't disappear overnight without a reason. Emotional investment doesn't shut off like a switch. When attraction is weak, there's no dramatic change, just gradual disengagement. Sudden distance usually means something was triggered. For many women, developing feelings creates internal pressure. It introduces uncertainty, vulnerability, and the risk of emotional exposure. The moment she realizes she's becoming attached, her instinct may not be to move closer, but to regain control by creating space. This isn't about manipulation or confusion. It's about self-protection. Running feels safer than risking emotional dependence, and the stronger the connection feels to her, the more intense that instinct can become. What looks like rejection is often resistance to her own emotions, not to you. What's happening when a woman pulls away isn't just emotional, it's biological. And once you understand this, her behavior stops looking confusing and starts making sense. When a woman develops unexpected emotional attachment, her brain can interpret that vulnerability as a threat. The same region responsible for detecting danger, the amygdala, becomes active. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. In other words, her body reacts to emotional closeness the same way it would react to risk. This is why strong attraction doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. If she's been hurt before, values her independence, or prides herself on emotional control, connection can feel like losing ground. Wanting someone introduces uncertainty. It means surrendering control, trusting another person, and facing the possibility of disappointment. Her mind starts asking questions she didn't plan to confront. What if I get attached? What if I lose myself? What if this ends badly? So the nervous system looks for relief, and the fastest relief comes from distance. Pulling back lowers emotional intensity. It gives her a sense of safety and control again. That's why the timing is important. This response usually appears right after moments of emotional closeness, deep conversations, shared vulnerability, or genuine connection. From the outside, it looks like coldness. From the inside, it's a defense mechanism. She isn't running from you. She's running from how strongly she feels and how exposed that makes her. When a woman starts feeling emotionally invested, she often begins testing without consciously deciding to. These tests aren't planned or malicious, they're instinctive. Her mind is trying to answer one critical question: is this man safe to trust emotionally? The tests are subtle. She might delay replies, create small amounts of distance, pull back after a good moment. Sometimes she introduces mild tension or inconsistency, just enough to observe your reaction. What she's watching for isn't what you say. It's how you respond emotionally. Do you panic? Do you chase harder? Do you demand reassurance or clarity? Most men don't realize they're being evaluated in these moments. They assume something is wrong and try to fix it by increasing effort. Ironically, that response often fails the test. It signals emotional dependence rather than stability. What she's actually looking for is calm consistency, a man who doesn't lose his center when the emotional temperature changes, someone who stays grounded, maintains his life, and doesn't react impulsively to uncertainty. Pass the test, and her fear begins to ease. Fail it, and her instinct to protect herself grows stronger. The key mistake men make isn't misunderstanding women, it's misunderstanding what emotional strength looks like under pressure. This is where most men get confused and where clarity changes everything. A woman who is genuinely uninterested behaves in a simple, consistent way. She disengages gradually or disappears completely. There's no emotional tension, no contradiction, no mixed signals. Her energy fades and never returns. A woman who is protecting herself behaves very differently. Instead of disappearing, she becomes inconsistent. She pulls back, then reappears. She creates space, but never fully lets go. Her actions don't line up cleanly because she's experiencing internal conflict. One part of her wants connection, the other part wants safety. That conflict creates patterns that feel confusing from the outside. Warm conversations followed by silence, interest followed by distance, emotional moments followed by withdrawal. These contradictions aren't random. They're evidence of attachment combined with fear. The most important distinction is this: disinterest is emotionally flat, while self-protection is emotionally charged. If her behavior still carries tension, curiosity, or emotional pull, she hasn't checked out. She's holding herself back.